Now on Denver 7 News, water continues to run low in the Colorado River, and cities across the metro are trying to do their part to conserve.
If we can get ahead of it a little bit by conserving water in really smart ways, we're going to be that much better off in the long run.
We break down the efforts being made, hoping to make a difference.
Plus, people tell us affordable housing cannot come soon enough in Denver.
I'm 65 years old, and I'm sleeping in my car for the last 2 years off and on, sometimes in a motel room.
The new policy to get people off the streets faster.
And the restaurant industry is a buzzing, fast-moving business, often creating stress for their employees.
You've got to find that balance, otherwise you'll get burnout and no matter what you do.
How one Colorado business is making sure workers are taking care of their mental health.
Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Shannon Ogden.
I'm Ann Trujillo, and we begin tonight with our water supply. More consequences could be coming as the Colorado River Basin continues to operate in a Tier 2 water shortage.
So the basin serves the water needs of 7 states, dozens of Native American tribes, and parts of Mexico. Roughly 40 million people depend on it.
And despite the urgency of this water crisis, the states who use the river the most missed a deadline this week to propose major cuts that the federal government has said are necessary. And now it's gotten to the point that hydroelectric turbines, which create energy, are at risk of turning off. The Inflation Reduction Act will provide $4 billion in funding for water management and conservation efforts in western states, but federal officials are imploring more efforts to be made to conserve at a state and city level.
And one Front Range county planted the seeds of water conservation today.
And the goal is to bring back the landscape that once existed in the area, which wouldn't need to be irrigated.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon was there today for the start of this turf conversion project and explains what it does for all of Colorado.
One glance at this field in Littleton, and you'll see a lot of dirt.
Used to be a patch of Kentucky bluegrass, so typical lawn grass.
That grass now gone. But when you look closely in the dirt, you see the seeds they're planting.
The kind of brown prairie grass you see out in the plains a lot of the time.
Luke Hattlestead with Arapahoe County says the green grass that used to be here was picked mostly for cosmetic reasons.
Back when water was a little more plentiful and we'd have to think about things like this.
They're getting back to their roots with the grass being put into the field, which is built to handle Colorado's climate.
The reason it doesn't need any irrigation is because once the roots are established, they grow deep enough that they pull water up from underneath. So that's how they sustain themselves.
Those with the county estimate this project will save 1.5 million gallons of water every year.
It actually is enough water to supply a family of 4 for 15 years.
The water here is supplied by Denver Water, which collects it from the South Platte River Basin and tributaries of the Colorado River.
There's a lot of need right now to save water for the Colorado River.
Austin Kritzmerich of Denver Water says the ongoing drought across the West, along with the issues surrounding the Colorado River, can affect water supply for their Front Range customers.
We really need to figure out new strategies outside of what we've traditionally done on how we can play our part of kind of making the landscapes work for us and save water.
This turf conversion is part of a larger sustainability plan for Arapahoe County, which starting from 2019 wants to reduce landscape water by 13% over the next 5 to 10 years.
Imagine what you could do at your own home, what other cities could do with their public areas. It's something to think about, and it's something we all should be trying to pitch in on.
Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
And taking a closer look tonight, certainly not a new concept. Cities across the Front Range have started offering rebates to homeowners who choose to remove grass or turf from their lawns and replace it with more water use friendly options. Highlands Ranch is the most recent city to offer a rebate. They are following Thornton, Centennial, Fort Collins, and Lafayette. Now, Denver right now does not have a program.
Meanwhile, Aurora will soon become the first in our state to ban the use of non-functional grass. Aurora City Council is one vote away on a bill to restrict the use of cool weather turf, which is basically any ornamental grass. This would be for new development, redevelopment, and for the creation of new golf courses. City leaders believe this ordinance could help the city reduce its outdoor irrigation usage in half.
After years of this blistering hot housing market, sales across the U.S. have fallen, creating rumblings of a housing recession. A monthly report by the National Association of Realtors now says the sales of previously owned homes fell nearly 6% in July over June. That's the slowest sales pace since the start of the pandemic. It's mainly because of high interest rates and builders not being able to keep up with demand. Some analysts are forecasting a price correction of 10 to 15% next year. Others caution that anyone in the market for a home be aware that this, of course, can change at any point. Well, the city of Denver is making efforts to fight displacement, getting more people into affordable housing faster.
The new policy would prioritize applicants based on who's most at risk for becoming homeless. Denver 7's Micah Smith talks to one Coloradan who is hoping to make it to the top of that priority list.
Sleeping in his car night after night is how Ron Bouchard says he survives.
I'm not no bum. I've been working since I was 11 years old.
But for 2 years, Broussard has been on several affordable housing waiting lists and has yet to find a home.
But all I see is high rents. It's like they're trying to take a certain class of people and keep them down.
In Denver, before construction on a new affordable housing unit is complete, there's a months-long waiting list of people like Broussard waiting and hoping to move in. Recently, the city unveiled a new plan to help.
What this program and this policy would do is give our residents that have experienced displacement or at risk of displacement first opportunity at newly created affordable housing here in Denver.
Denver Chief Housing Officer Britta Fisher says essentially it's a prioritization policy.
First 30% of any new affordable housing or preserved affordable housing would be available to rent or buy to those in the prioritized.
Fisher says the prioritization will be based on a number of factors.
Have you lived in Denver for a long time? Were you displaced from a neighborhood? Are you feeling the pressure of involuntary displacement? Also, do you have things like a disabling condition, or have you experienced homelessness that further impacts your ability to obtain and maintain housing? This is a meaningful step of prioritizing people to get into new affordable housing. And I think that's something that our community has been wanting.
Kind of embarrassed being on here because I really don't want people knowing I've been homeless. So when I go back to work, everybody's going to know that I'm homeless.
But Broussard says he knows there are so many people who can relate to his situation, and he can only hope that eventually he reaches the top of the housing prioritization list. Reporting in Denver, Micah Smith, Denver 7.
And there are more efforts in the works. Today, Denver's Habitat for Humanity continued work on another project to help add to the city's affordable housing inventory. Habitat and ENT Credit Union volunteers spent the morning building 28 affordable homes in northwest Denver. The development is being built on the former Marycrest High School campus. All of the affordable homes will go to families making less than Denver's median income, which is $89,000 a year for a family of 4.
The median list price for a home in Denver is $750,000. And at that price point, we have to think about who's being locked out of homeownership. And that's your essential workers, your teachers, construction workers, nurses. And we want to make sure that this is a community where everyone can afford to live.
And families will be able to move into the homes by the end of the month.
And Colorado voters will decide on an affordable housing measure in November. Prop 108 would dedicate some of the state's income tax revenue to funding affordable housing programs that could reduce rents, purchase land for affordable housing development, and help people who are experiencing homelessness.
And taking a look at the job market, Colorado's unemployment rate is now below pre-pandemic levels. The state says it fell 1/10 of a percentage point in July to 3.3%. That's the lowest since February of 2020, when it was 2.8%. The state's labor force also grew by 1,700, but the share of people participating in the labor force stayed steady at just below 70%, which actually is the highest since March of 2020. Now, many of us have gone through some tough times since the pandemic, and work stress is pretty common everywhere.
Yeah, but now an industry that has always had high stress is paying closer attention to mental health. Denver 7's Nicole Brady has the story.
Restaurant work can be a grind.
I call it controlled chaos in the kitchen.
From the kitchen to the customers.
Everybody comes in and they want to eat. They want to eat on time. And how long is my food taking?
Then there are the late hours and a lifestyle that doesn't always lead to eating and sleeping right.
You're around a lot of single people. They go out.
Chef Troy Gard, owner of Denver's Garden Grace, had to learn to balance life and work.
I love what I do. I don't want to get burnt out.
A growing number of restaurant bosses like Gard are acknowledging their employees' mental health needs. The Colorado Restaurant Foundation took note after the pandemic.
We had a fund during the pandemic that was about financial assistance for people in this industry who were displaced. When we saw that mental health was becoming such a hot topic for this industry, it was something people were identifying as a need. We expanded that fund so that it covers mental health care.
It's $1,000 available to any restaurant employee for inpatient or outpatient care. And it's not the only way the industry has been reaching out in hopes of keeping workers healthy and happy at work.
We've seen a massive addition of things like insurance, paid leave, healthcare, mental health care, all kinds of things to really, show people that this industry cares about them and that there is a good, sort of stable career.
At Garden Grace, that's built into the philosophy.
I love my staff. We call it the Ohana. I'm from Hawaii, so Ohana means family.
Nicole Brady reporting. And Gard says he's also reminding employees about the new national hotline. It was just launched this summer. You call 988, and that number will connect you with trained counselors and resources.
Coming up, one Colorado woman is making sure children in foster care are given the chance to thrive.
I wanted something that these foster children, our former youth, could feel that they have a safety net, that they have a family with us.
How her own experience helped shape this growing organization.
A lot of green on the radar screen. I'll let you know which areas have the best chances for rain this weekend.
Plus, the Broncos are in Buffalo. With the team not using their starters, will the Bills have an advantage in tomorrow's game? The Denver 7 sports team breaks it all down for us.